Alright gang, today we're going to be Rastronauts trying to get to the Cheese Moon in First Rat. Alright guys, to set up First Rat, first thing we're going to do is select which side of the board we're going to use. One side is standard, everything's printed on it, and the other side is a variable setup. We will be playing the variable setup. It means we will be filling in the resource spaces on the board here along with the score tracks. Alright, once we decide what side we're going to use, we're going to place that in the center of the table where everybody can reach it. If you're playing on the other side of the board setup is done. If you are doing the alternate setup like I am, first thing we're going to do is grab these 8 alternate scoring tokens. We're going to put them off to the side for now. And then if we look down at the board, we can see each spot is blank now except for a letter in it. Alright, you run from A to E. And we have these resource tokens which are double-sided. And there are a number of these tiles depending on how many are placed out in the spots that they correspond to. What we'll do is shuffle each of these individual piles separate, face down. Alright, so we're going to separate the A tiles, the B tiles, all the way up to the E tiles into separate piles. We're going to give those individual piles a shuffle, mix them up nicey nice, and then we will place one tile on each corresponding space of that letter. And we will flip those over and they will reveal our junkyard track. I will flip the rest of the guys over and we'll come back. Alright, so your board should look something like this. You know, it'll be arranged differently, but each space should have one token in it corresponding to the letter that is on the other side of the token in the space. Alright, now we're going to give these alternate scoring tiles here a little bit of a shuffle, and then we are going to place one of these randomly in these gray spaces above the tracks here. Other than this spot here, okay, the rocket space, that is always printed on the board. So we have 7 of them, 3 here, and 1 down here. All right, now as I said, there's 7 spots. You'll have 1 extra tile. Return that to the box. Won't be used for the game. From here on out, setup is basically the same as if you were playing with the other side. If you are not playing solo, then you will return these cards to the box. They're not used for any other player count other than 1. Alright, now, depending on the player count, we are going to use the gray neutral player here to block some spaces. If you are playing with 5 players, you don't have to place any of these neutral rats out or the scoring markers. If you are playing with fewer than 5 players, you're going to have to place some of these out. If you are playing with 4 players or less, you will place your rat up here on the Rastronaut track at the 1 to 4 stop sign there. Okay, and then you will place 1 cube on each of the 1 to 4 places on the other scoring tracks. Alright, now if you're playing with 1 or 2 players, you would add 1 more of these gray cubes to the 1 to 2 stop signs here on each of the scoring tracks, and you would add your last rat here to this spot here on the Rastronaut track. Alright, however, we are going to be playing a 3-player game in this video, so we will return all of the other unused neutral rat markers back to the box. They won't be used. Alright, next we are going to take our resources. Alright, so we have tin cans here, baking soda, some vinegar, and some calculators, I think they are. Okay, we're going to place them in a pile, either separate or all together off to the side of the board. I have them containers. They don't come with the game. You do it however you want. All right, along with that, we are going to have some cheese here. Okay, we got these little half cheese wheels and then these like single piece cheese wheels. As you can see, if you place 3 of these on the half cheese, you get 3 points of cheese. So these are 1 point, these are 3 points. Okay, and we also have some moldy cheese. Okay, these are negative points at the end of the game, and you can use them to get cheese. I'll explain that later on, but, you know, pile them off to the side of the board however you choose to, along with these bonus nuts here. Okay, they have 3 on one side and, you know, just a blank there in the hole for the nut on the other where the threads are. Before I forget, we are also going to place the score sheet off to the side. And you'll have to find a writing utensil. It doesn't come with the game, you know. They explode during shipping, stuff like that. Alright, next we are going to take these 10 bottle caps here, the Blue Crow bottle caps. We're going to give these a shuffle, and we are going to place 6 up here by Cappy Crow, I believe it is called. We're going to place them face up like so. Back here by Cappy Crow. We're going to return any unused ones, the last 4 back to the box. They won't be used for the game. Okay, now we are going to take these comic strips here. Okay, they're double-sided. They have some kind of benefit on one side, and this rocket ship comic strip artwork there on the other. We are going to give these a shuffle, face down with the rocket face up. Okay, now we're going to take 6 of these, place them face up, so their special abilities pointing up. We should have 4 left over. If we look at some of these comic strips, they have a super rat on them. You know, they have a figure of a super rat. If that is the case, we will take the corresponding little marker here for that super rat and keep them either on the board or near the board. Any unused comic books or super rats will be thrown back in the box and will be used for the game. Alright, now we're going to take these rat backpack tokens here with the rats facing down. They have different resources on the other side. We're just going to make sure the rat with the backpack is facing up. We're going to give these a shuffle, and then we're going to place them in this space here by the hamster. Don't remember hamster's name. We're just going to go with hamster. Alright, so we're going to place a number of these tokens face up depending on the player count. And that basically is the number of players plus 3 until you get to a 5-player game, and then it is the number of players plus 4. So in a 2-player game, I would have 5 of these tokens. We're playing a 3-player game, so I would have 6 of them, and I would flip them face up. In a 4-player game, I would have 7, and then in a 5-player game, I would have 9 of these out here. Where the hamster is face up, any unused ones will remain secret from the players and return to the box. They won't be used for the game. Alright, next we're going to come up here to Froggy, who sells energy drinks. Kind of jumpy, this guy. This works the same. It depends on the player count, but basically we're going to add the player count plus 1. So in a 2-player game, there would be 3 of these energy drinks. For a 3-player game, which we're playing today, there's going to be 4. And so on. 5-player game, you would use all 6. Any unused ones will be returned to the box. They won't be used for the game. Next, players will choose a color and take all the components of the color that they chose. Alright, and these will include a player board, which is double-sided. One side has the player color, the other side has the turn order, basically. It will have 10 of these scoring cubes, 4 of these rat tokens, 1 of these light bulb tokens, and 1 of these burrowing rat tokens. Alright, we're going to take 2 of these scoring cubes and put them off to the side, and we're going to take the other 8 of these cubes, which is what we'll be actually using until the last round, basically, and put them in a pile next to our player board. Then we will take this burrowing rat and place it here on this first spot for the burrow area here. Then we will take this light bulb here and put it on top of the battery here. Next we will take 2 of our rats and put them down here in the nursery. And we will take our final 2 rats and we will place them here on the starting space for the junkyard track. Any unused player pieces go back to the box. They will not be used for the game, obviously. Alright, next you have a choice on how to select the first player. You can either use what the rulebook says, and whoever HEs last is the first player, or you can do it however you want. We're going to say the green player is the first player. They will get the first player marker here, this little astronaut rat. Alright, then they will get 1 piece of cheese. Each other player will get a number of cheese depending on the player count. Up to a 3-player game, the next 2 players will get 2 pieces of cheese. And if we had a 4 or 5-player game, they would get 3 pieces of cheese. So the first player will get 1 piece of cheese. The second and third players will get 2 pieces of cheese. The 4th and 5th player will get 3 pieces of cheese if that's the player count. And that is basically it. You are set up to play First Rat. Alright gang, today we're playing First Rat. Now, I will not be playing the solo rules or showing how to set up for the solo game. You can find that at the back of the rulebook or online elsewhere. Also, during setup, I called Madcap Crow here Cappy Crow. This is why I don't do theme. I can't remember what it is. But regardless, this is First Rat. The object of the game is to have the most points by the end of the game, which will be triggered in 1 of 2 ways. We'll get to that later on. And whoever has the most points at the end of the game will win. We will gain these points by collecting resources to build rockets and supply our rockets. Also supply our mice with light and food as we're working our way up the track. Or we will gain points by becoming rat-stronauts. and whoever has the most points at the end of the game wins. All right, now on a player's turn, starting with the first player, and then going clockwise, a player will do up to 4 phases. It depends. 2 of them you must do, 2 of them are optional. If we look down here at our handy dandy player board, which is a little confusing at first, we can see the first stage is move. Now we can move one of our rats up to 5 spaces. We must move 1 space, and we can do it up to 5 space. Or we can move 2 or more of our rats 1 to 3 spaces. There are some modifiers for this. We'll get back into that. All right, so we'll start off with the 1 to 5 space. If we have our rat here, I'll be using the green player, we can move him 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces. And then we would end our movement phase of the game and go on to the next phase. Or we can move 2 rats as long as they land on the same colored space and they move between 1 and 3 spaces. All right, so let's look back here. If we move this rat 1, 2, 3 spaces, we can also move this rat 1, 2 spaces. All right, they both landed on a yellow tile here representing cheese, so this is legal. Now, you cannot have your own colored rat land on a space with another one of your own colored rats. However, you can move across a spot with one of your colored rats as long as you don't end your movement on there and continue on, and end your movement on a space with another rat as long as it's another player's rat. Okay, if this happens, you would have to pay them 1 cheese for each space that you share with another player's rat and for each rat on that space. So here I would owe the yellow player 1 cheese, but say I ended my movement here and the yellow and purple player were there, I would have to give the yellow player a piece of cheese and then the purple player a piece of cheese. But I'm out of cheese. What do I do? In that case, I get an evil mouse fairy who will drop off this molded cheese. It will give me 3 cheeses from the bank as a gift, but the evil rat fairy here will take 2 points from me at the end of the game for each piece of molded cheese I have. And then once I have traded in, once I have gotten the 3 pieces of cheese, I could then pay the players the appropriate amount of cheese. Now, later on in the game, we'll be getting resources, and there are tunnels here, which we will have to pay resources to go through. If we don't have enough resources to do so, the little cockroach bouncers here will tell us to keep on moving, you know? There are other modifiers for movement. I'll get into them a little bit later on. But a rat could go 1, 2, 3 spaces, paying the resource for this tunnel here if they have the resource to do it. If not, they cannot do it. All right, they would turn the resource into the supply and then continue on their way, going 3 or 5, depending on how many rats they're moving. All right, in this case, they could move both of them 3 and then collect the resources in the next phase. We'll get to that. Now, if you look here, we have 2 orange ones. We need a calculator or a vinegar to pay for the corresponding tunnel. Here we have 2 yellow ones, okay, and we need a baking soda or a tin to go through those. Up here we have this gray one. This is the only one that is not affected by a modifier. I'll get back to that in a second. And we need a vinegar to go from this space to this space. All right, so now if you haven't figured it out by now, each one of these spaces is 1 point of movement. And they are different colors, and like I said, you got to match up the colors in order to move your rats. If we look up here at the launch pad, this is a wild space, okay? It does not correspond to any one color. It could be used as any of the 5 colors, and it has special benefits. I have Arnie up here to remind me of a modifier for the collection of the resources, which we're going to get into right now. Now, if we look down here on the board, we can see we have 5 different colored spaces. They will correspond to the light track here, this guy here. Cheese for the yellow guys. For the white guys, we will get apple cores, which will be able to move around the burrow track. We'll get back to that. Orange and green ones are different types of resources in the game. As I mentioned, we have baking soda, vinegar, a calculator, and a tin. Okay, and the green and orange ones could swap these resources interchangeably throughout the board depending on where the space is. And then, as I said, up here we have the wild spot, which will either get you a bonus at the end of the game, or you can pull one of your rats out of the nursery. We'll get back in that in a second. All right, so now that's basically what the board looks like. Let's get into how to collect resources. When you end your turn on a space with a resource, you will collect that many resources dictated on the space. So in this case, we have 1 piece of cheese. On this space, we have 1 piece of cheese. So we will collect 2 pieces of cheese, 1 for each rat on the space with 1 piece of cheese. We would take those from the supply and place them in our player area. And we can use that to buy stuff later on, or if we land on spaces with other rats, like I said, during the movement. If we land on here, we do the same thing, but we would do it for whatever the resource is on the orange or the green tiles. They work the same, it's just the resources are a little different. You would get 1 of whatever is depicted on the tile and take it from the supply and add it to your player area there. Okay, and we can use these later on to build rockets and gain points. We'll get back into that a little bit. Now the blue spaces work a little different here. These will control these light bulbs, which will allow our rats to be able to see and gather more resources. Anytime we land on a space with a light bulb, we will move this light bulb marker here along these light bulb spaces, the number of light bulbs dictated on the spots. So here, the light bulb would only move 1. Over here, we have 2 light bulbs. Plus that would be 3, so we'd move it 1, 2, 3. All right, and so on. Now, from this point on, anytime you stop at a space at or before that light bulb, you would add 1 more of whatever resource it is to what you're collecting from. All right, so say I had my light bulb up here a previous turn. I'm going to move these 2 rats and go on these 2 cheese spaces. I would get 1, 2 cheese tokens for landing on the space, plus 1 more for each tile that I landed on. So I get 2, 4. 1 plus the light bulb, and then 1 plus the light bulb for 4. And then I would take that from the supply and put it in my play area. Okay, now, if I had a situation like this where I had 1 rat before the light bulb and 1 rat after the light bulb, this would not take effect for the rat that comes after the light bulb. So in this case, I would get 1, 2 pieces of cheese for this rat, and this rat I would get 2 pieces that is dictated on the spot, but I would not get 1 for the light bulb. So I would get a total of 4 pieces of cheese in this example. Okay, and the light bulb works the same with all the resources going up the junkyard track here, which is what we're moving up. If I didn't explain that. As we can see here, we have, I don't remember what they're called in the rule book. I'm going to call them generators because that's what supplies electricity to lights usually. But these do act as a space. So going from here to here is 1 point of movement, and then here would be 2. All right. But anytime you land or cross one of these spaces here, you will then be able to take one of your scoring cubes and place it on the leftmost spot of this track here with the generator on it. All right, so the green players are first one there. They will go to the leftmost spot, gaining 10 points in this instance. That's the way my board's set up. If the yellow player came along later on and passed one of these, then she would go to the next available open left spot. If the green player here went up to the next one or passed the next one up, then they could put one in the next available space to the left of the track. All right, now we're going to move on to the apple cores. There are a few modifiers to the apple cores other than the light bulb track. There's some comic book modifiers. We'll get back into them in a minute. But with the apple cores, we will add up the number of apple cores we have, and that'll allow us to move that many spaces along this barrow track here. All right, so in this case, the green player would have 2 plus 1 for the light bulb, so 3. And 4 is 7. They can move their barrow rat marker here 7 spaces. Okay, now, as we can see here, there's arrows telling us which way to go, and we have intersections. At these intersections, we must choose which way to go. And then if we land on or pass one of these intersections that go into one of these 3 rooms, we will get the benefit of that room. All right, the first one here is the comic strips. This is how the rats learn how to, build stuff, apparently. All right, these 4 here are basically for movement. This guy here will allow you to add 1 additional movement onto your rat. All right, so if the green player were to move just 1 rat, he can now move it 6 spaces instead of 5. If they were going to move 2 rats, then they can move it up to 4 spaces instead of the 3. This guy here allows you to not have to pay cheese to another player when you land on a space with them. All right. These 2 here are with the tunnels. They will allow you to use the tunnels without having to pay the resource. Now, you can only use that on the orange and the yellow tunnels or green tunnels. You cannot use it up here on this gray tunnel. All right, now, these 2 guys involve resources. This one will allow you to build different parts of the rocket, which we'll get it back into in a second, for 1 resource less. Okay, you could choose which resource that is. This guy here is called colorblind. It will allow you to interchangeably stop on green or orange spaces on the board. Okay, normally if you're moving 1 or 2 or more rats, you would have to land on the same colored space. With colorblind, it doesn't have to be the same color. It could be 1 rat on orange, 1 rat on green, whatever you choose. Okay, now some backpacks get involved with the colored spaces you are on, which I'll get into in a second, but you cannot use both of those. If you're using the colorblind, you must choose 1 color to use on the different spots. Now, these 4 are what are called super rats. I left Arnie up here to remind me about his thing. Lola here will give you +2 movement during your movement phase. All right, so if you're moving 1 rat, you can move it up to 7 spaces now. And if you have this +1, you could add that onto it and move up to 8 spaces for 1 rat. Or if you are moving 2 or more rats, you could move up to 5 spaces or 6 if you have this one, if you have Lola. All right, now anytime you are to claim 1 of these super rats, you would take 1 of your rats and you would slide that super rat in the tail slot on the back of the rat like so. I'll put it up there so you can see it like that. Okay, another one for movement here is Neil Ratstrong. Now, Neil works a little differently. Neil can never steal during the buying phase, which is optional. I'll get back to that in a second. So he can never steal. If you move Neil all by himself, he can move anywhere on the board he wants to, including the launch pad up here. It's your choice. And wherever Neil lands on the Rastronaut track here, you will multiply that total by 2 at the end of the game. Okay, now, Neil can never steal and go back, which we'll get into. All right, so once he starts moving up the track, he's going all the way up. He's not coming back. Okay, now we got the Rat Woman. If you have the Rat Woman during the buying phase, again, we'll get in that in a second, you cannot steal and you do not have to pay for anything that you are buying. All right, Rat Woman can never steal and go back. So once she comes out, she's always going to go all the way up to the launch pad. And finally, we got Arnie here. Arnie will allow us to add 1 resource to any spot that he is on. This does not take effect up here for our launch pad resources. This does take effect with the energy drinks. We'll get back to all that in a second. All right, so that's Arnie Ratzenegger. Okay, so once you decide to take 1 of these comics, you would take the comic itself, put it in your player area, and if you had any super rats, you would attach that to 1 of your rats behind their tail there, and play with them as normal. Okay, now another option we could take in the burrow area here is to come across this space here or land on it, in which case we could take 1 of our rats from our nursery here and place it at the start spot of the junkyard strip. If we cross this area here or land on it, we will place 1 of our scoring markers in the leftmost spot that is available, and that will supply our rats with food to eat while they're training for outer space. Now, as I was showing you an example, I stopped there to show you, but you do not have to stop. Say I was going to go up here and I had 4 movement, I would go 1, 2, 3, 4, and collect the resource. If I continue to go around, if I went around twice, I could collect 2 resources, benefits, whatever they may be, as long as there is available. Okay, so if there's 2 comics here and I lap this twice, I could take 2 comics. Same with the rats here. I could take them out of the nursery, or I could score, as long as there are any of these benefits left. With the scoring, it's a little different. The last spot, you could have more than one scoring marker on it, whereas any other you would normally only have one. All right, and I'll get back in that in a second. After you collect resources here, if you have a rat on the launch pad, you would move them up to the furthest most left spot on the track. So that is the second phase, the mandatory phase, which is collecting resources. So far we moved and we collected resources. The third phase and the fourth phase are optional. If we look on the board, there are certain spaces with arrows on it. Okay, so we got the crow, who I got his name wrong, the hamster, and the frog. I will simply refer to these as the junkyard animals. And they have a sign with cheese on it and a negative sign. That means we're going to pay that amount of cheese in order to buy from them if we land on the space. Now, we do this after we finish our movement and collect our resources. When we end our turn on that space, we would then do the optional buy if we want to. We do not have to. We could simply choose not to and move on to the next person. All right, but if we choose to buy, we would pay the amount in cheese and take one of these backpacks. As you can see, there are 5 backpacks and there are 2 different of each type of backpack. You cannot have 2 of the same type of backpack. If you are to buy a backpack from one of the junkyard critters, you would give the cheese back to the supply and you would take the backpack and put it in your player area. Now, say you don't have any money or not enough money like I do. You don't want to take a loan from the bank, you know, the evil cheese fairy, and get negative points. In this case, what we could do is steal. If we land here, we do the resource thing. Instead of paying the critter, we could steal from them, and that would force us to go back here to the start of the junkyard track, and we would place, you know, the backpack or the energy drink or the bottle caps. It works on any of the junkyard critters. All right. Now, as I said, Armstrong, Lola, was it? Rat Woman, rather. They cannot steal. They must continue all the way up. They either buy or pass on this. If you buy from the critters, you would stay in the space you are. All right, but if you steal, you have to go back to the beginning of the junkyard track. We look here. These will be for resources, basically. The cheese and light bulbs and apple cores will give you +2 for 1 spot. All right, so say I had this guy here. I had a rat end its turn here and a rat end its turn here. I would add it up how many of the resource they got. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, plus the lightning bolt modifier, which added 2 more, so 7. And then I could add 2 more to one of these spots for a total of 9. It's timing with the next thing we're going to get to, which is the energy drink. Cheese works the same, you get +2. Apple cores works the same, you get +2. These guys here are for the resources. In a green spot, you would get +1 of the resource of one of the spots that you are on, your choice. This one works for the orange spots, or red. I'm going to say orange. All right. Now, as I said, if you have colorblind, you must choose to use one or the other. You cannot use both. Okay, so you cannot use the orange and the green if you are on the colorblind. You must use the green or the orange. All right, over here we have energy drinks at the Frog. Now, if we have an energy drink, we will collect it, you know, pay for it or steal it, collect it, put it in our player area, and then from that point on, anytime we choose to, we could use it to multiply how many resources we get. All right, so what we would do is we would move our rats, add up any resources that they had. So again, we'll use the lightning bolts here, or we'll use the light bulbs here. All right, so they got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, plus 2 would be 8, 9 if they had the backpack. All right, if they use this, they can flip it over, showing that they use it, and then multiply that by 2, which would give them 18. If Arnie was out, you know, you would add him in before you doubled it. Okay, now up here we have the caps with the crow whose name I got wrong. These are endgame scoring effects, basically. These two are the most complicated, and we will pull them aside, but these guys are not. As we can see, we have a different symbol for our different scoring tracks here. When we collect one of these, we could do that either by buying or stealing. Again, if you steal, you go back to the beginning of the track. But if we have these at the end of the game, we will gain a number of points depending on what the tile is for each of the score tracks that we have. All right, so say I took this guy here at some point during the game, and at the end of the game, I finished 2 rockets. I would gain 5 points for scoring the rocket, plus another 6 for this, and then 4 points for completing this rocket, plus another 6 for this. I'll get into how that works in a minute. That's the final stage, which is building. These guys work the same for the other scoring tracks. This one would take effect for the cheese. This guy here would take effect for the rocket end of the rocket. This guy here would be for the fuselage. This guy here would be for the cap. This guy here is for our astronauts. This guy here is for our light bulbs. Okay. And the final one down here is for feeding our rats, our apicores. This guy is pretty simple. We will get 2 points at the end of the game for every bottle cap, energy drink, backpack, or comic we have. Whether we used or did not use the energy drink, it doesn't matter. And the 2 points would include the cap that we have. So if the green player had this at the end of the game, it would be 2 points for the cap, plus 2 points for every backpack he has. He only has 1, for a total of 4 points because he doesn't have anything else. Okay, if he had one of these guys, be 2 points for that, whether you use it or not. And then you would add it to your score at the end of the game. We'll get back to that. All right, this final guy here will give you 12 points at the end of the game, but it will give you minus 2 points for every part of a rocket that you have finished. All right, so you get 12 points, and then for any section you did complete, you would subtract 2 points. So in this case, I'd get 12 points minus 2, 4, which will give me a total of 8 points for this if I had it at the end of the game. All right, so now we have the fourth and final phase for a player, which is also optional. If they have enough resources to do it, they can. If not, they won't. They simply pass on to the next player. All right, so this is the build phase. If a player has enough resources, they can build parts of the rocket, like I said. So in this case, say the green player here got 2 baking soda and 5 vinegar, they could build the rocket part for their vehicle, and then they would place their score marker to the leftmost spot available on the track, and we would return any of the resources we use back to the supply. If we look up here, we got the fuselage. We need 2 tins and 3 baking soda in order to complete that, and if we did finish it, then we would stick out a scoring marker in the appropriate space and return any used ones to the supply. This guy here, we have 1 tin and 2 calculators to build. So if we had that, we could spend it and place our marker here on the leftmost spot if it were available. Now, at any time when a player finishes all 3 of these pieces, they will automatically take one of their scoring markers and place it on the leftmost track here on the finished rocket space. Okay, now if they do this again, they would add other markers to the track. Okay, do this as many times as they complete a rocket. Okay, now if we cannot do that, or we choose not to, we could also choose to donate cheese to the cause. Okay, we could change 10 pieces of cheese in for 1 score token on the board. We could do any of these builds or donating cheese as many times as we have resources to do it. So if I had 20 cheese, I could change in 20 of them and put 2 markers down there. If I had enough to do 2 of these, I could do 2 of them at one time. Depends on what our resources are. Now take note that the last space, the furthest most right space of each of the tracks that score have room for multiple rats on it. Okay? And if there are any of these gray pieces here, you must place on the right side of that neutral color, because that is blocking a space for player count. So that's basically a player's turn. You got them 4 phases. You can move and collect resources. Those 2 are mandatory. You must move at least 1 space. and collect resources. The two optional ones are the third and fourth phase, which are buying or robbing, and building or donating cheese to the cause. They are optional again. Once a player has done all four of these phases, the play will pass on to the next player in clockwise order, and this will continue until one of two things triggers the end of the game. The first thing that can trigger the end of the game is if one player gets all four of their rats up here to the Rastronaut track. If that happens, then you will finish out the round and then add up the score. Whoever has the most points wins. Another end trigger is if a player places out their 8th scoring marker, that will trigger the end of the game, in which case you will finish out the end of that round, and then every player will get one more turn, which is why we have these 2 extra scoring markers here. And then we will finish out the game and, add up the score. We'll add up the score hypothetically here. All right, so we look at the score sheet. We write down their names here. Down here, we will see how many spaces are in the completed rocket area there, and we will give people points in the corresponding space that their cube is in. Okay, these 3 here will do the 3 corresponding pieces to make a completed rocket. This guy here represents the cheese. Here represents the Rastronauts. Here represents the work lights. This one represents how much scoring you did on the apple track. This guy here is, like I said, all the caps. Depending on what the cap you collected throughout the game is, will be what you score. This guy here, as I said, if we were to land on this spot here, we could either take a endgame bonus or take one of our rats out of the nursery, as long as there are rats in the nursery. You could take these bonus tiles as long as a rat is out on the track. All right, so we would add any of these that we had. Say we had 6, we would put 6 here. Then we subtract any of the cheese that our fairy rat mother dropped off, and subtract 2 points for each token that we had of that. So it would be 6 minus 2 would be 4. All right. Now, at the end of the game, we will gain 1 point for every combination of 4 resources we have. All right. So if we had 4 pieces of cheese, that would be 1 point. If we had 2 pieces of cheese, a piece of vinegar there, and a bottle of baking soda, that would be 1 point. All right. Any combination of the 5 resources that equal up to 4, you get 1 point. Then we would add the totals up, and whoever had the most points would win the game. If there were a tie, whoever has the most rats on the Rastronaut track would win the game. And if there is still a tie, then you share the tie. And that is it. That is how you play Feist Rat. And it's really rain down there. You know what that means? I am medicated. Alright, so this is for first rat. Let's get to it, gang. I will be the green player who will go first. Jen will be the yellow player who will go second. And Grumpy will be the purple player going last. Now, we are trying to get the most points by the end of the game, which will be triggered by someone getting 4 rats up there or somebody placing their 8th score marker out on the board. You'll see how that works. On a player's turn, starting with the first player, they're going to do 1 step at a time, 4 phases. Okay, lost what I was doing there for a second. All right, so we're going. First stage is mandatory. We have to move. We can move 1 rat, 1 space at minimum, or up to 5 spaces. So if I want to go, I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, landing here. Now, if I had some resources, I could use these tunnels, but I don't. So the cockroaches say, no go, mofo. You can't go through the tunnel. So we would have to go straight. All right, alternately, I can move 2 or more rats. As long as they end on the same spot, they can move 1 to 3 spaces. All right, so with the alternate setup is the only way you're going to be able to do this with the first player. Okay, the other side, you will not have 2 matching spaces within the first 5 spaces of the board. So green player is going to go here, and they are going to collect 2 cheese. Now, if I landed on a space with another player, I would have to pay each other player on that space 8 cheese. I cannot have 2 of my own rats on the same spot, but I could jump over my rats. Just can't end my turn with my rats. that is the end of my turn. It goes over to Jen. Now, I think what Jen's going to do is she's going to try to shoot straight to the astronaut track, get all 4 of her rats up there. I think I'm going to go to the slow route, and I think Gip's going to go somewhere in the middle. We'll see. I haven't decided what I'm going to do with them. So it's over to Jen. Like I said, she's going to come out blazing and move 5 spaces. And now she's going to collect the resources, which is the second phase. Don't remember if I mentioned that on my turn, which is also mandatory. So she will get 1 box of baking soda, place that in her player area. Goes over to Grump. Pretty quick turns. Grump is going to move right here, and he's going to block this for a little bit. I think he's going to go with the light bulb game. All right, so we gain 1 light bulb. We move the light bulb up 1 space. Now, anytime my rats land on that space or any space previous to the light bulb, we will add 1 resource to whatever tiles that my rats are on. All right, that's the end of Grump's turn. It goes over to me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, maybe I'll start moving there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I get 2 apples. So I can move on the burrow track here. 1 space for each apple core. So 1, 2. Now with this burrow space, as you can see, there's arrows which dictate which way you had to go. We have intersections which we can change directions. Anytime we pass or land on one of these 3 spaces here next to the rooms, we will be able to gain the benefit of said room. But we're not there yet. That's the end of my turn. It goes over to Jen. See, Jen will go 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, gaining 3 cheese. Alright, now this half wheel here is equal to 3 cheese. She'll place that there. Goes over to Grumps. Let's see, Grumps. I'll go 1, 2, 3. You know what? I'll go here. 4. He'll collect some baking soda. I don't know what I want to do with them yet. Alright, but we'll just gather some resources because they're always worth a point for every 4 at the end of the game. Alright, back to me. Alright, I'm going to move my rat here. Just the 1 rat, which will give me 2 spaces on the light bulb track. And now I have a choice. I can buy from my furry friend here in the junkyard, but I do not have enough cheese. Okay, costs 6 here, 7 for the frog, 12 for the crow rather. Alright, don't have enough money for that. So another option I could do is steal, which I will. Okay, so you know what? I think I'm going to go for the lights because, like I said, wherever the light is, you get an additional resource. Alright, so that's what I'm going to do. I take the backpack. Now, since I stole it, I had to go back to the start of the junkyard track. If I had bought it, I could stay there. If I chose not to do it, I could just stay there also. Alright, so green player, my rat, me rat. I'm confused. There's 3 people going in my head. It's confusing. My rat goes back to the star spot. Alright, goes over to Jen. Now, let's see. 1, 2. Jen could get in the light bulb game, which she should have, actually. 3, 4, 5. So we get her. One of them is not really useful. 1, 2, 3. We get the green. 1, 2, 3. That's what she'll do. She'll go 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. She's on 2 green spots. So she gets 1 more baking soda and a vinegar. It goes over to Grumps. Alright, Grumps is going to go 1, 2, 3. And then 1, 2. So, unfortunately, his light bulb is back here, so he doesn't get any additional cheese. But he gets 1, 2, 3 cheeses, giving him a half wheel. Back to me. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, you know what? That's what I'll do. I'll get some resources here. I'll get 1 of these guys. That's the end of my turn. It goes over to Jen. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. No. But she could get some apples. That's what she's going to do. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, which gives her 3 plus 2 is 5 apples. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. She has enough. She's going to grab this Lola here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. She ended on this space. As long as she ended or passed it, she could collect the comic book. She's going to get Lola here. Place the comic book in her player area. We're going to place Lola on this rat here. Alright, now, Lola will give us plus 2 extra movement. So if we were going solo by herself, it would be 7 spaces. If we were going in combination with other rats, it would be +2 to the 3, 1 to 5 spaces. If we have this guy here, which we do, the comic book, which will allow you to go 1 extra space, you could add that on to Lola. So you would go, 7, 8 spaces or 6 spaces. So I'll put her down like this. That is the end of Jen's turn. Goes back to me, or goes to Grumpy rather. Okay, he'll go 1, 2. And he will get 2 light bulbs. 1 and 2. And now he will steal this guy from the frog. Alright, and that'll bump him back to the start. That's the end of Grump's turn. Goes over to me. Go 1, 2. 1, 2. So I get 2, 3, 4 pieces of cheese. I do not have anything there, so that doesn't help me. So now I have 7 pieces of cheese. I get 3 more pieces of cheese I could donate to the cause up here to get some points. Don't have that yet. Alright. Goes over to Jen. 1, 2, and she will go 1 for some light bulbs here. Now we're going to move 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4. I got 2 rats on 2 different spots. I got to decide what to do here. I can't afford either one of them. I am going to steal from here, which will send Lola back to the start. And I will steal, I'm going to go with that. Alright, I'm going to go with the apple core backpack. Alright, now, this rat here could also steal. Nah, she won't steal or buy. Alright, that's the end of Jen's turn. It goes over to Grumpy. Alright, Grumps is just going to move up 1 space here. Okay, so that'll give him 1, 2 light bulbs plus 2, which is 4 light bulbs. So we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4. It goes over to me. Alright, I will. Let me see here. I'm going to go 1 and then 1, 2, which gives me 3 apple cores. 1, 2. Now, do I want to get one of these guys out or I'm going to come up here? I'm going to go up here. So that would be 3. We can share a space here. Now, in the burrows, we do not have to pay cheese if we're on a space with another player. That's only up here in the junkyard. All right, so what am I going to do? I got Rat Woman here, which will allow me to take these for free. I think that's what I'm going to grab. All right, yes. I'm going to grab that. I'm going to place Rat Woman on this one here. All right, so basically what Rat Woman will allow me to do is buy stuff for free. She cannot steal. She can once she comes out, she can only move up towards the launch pad. So if she were at one of the junkyard critters, she could buy from them without paying any cheese. She cannot steal. They go back. All right, that's the end of my turn. It goes over to Jen. Jen will go 1, 2, and then she will go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Nope, she'll go here. So Jen will pay Grumpy a piece of cheese, and she will now get 2, 3, 4, 5 movements for their light bulb. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Going to this space here. That's the end of Jen's turn. Goes over to Grumps. Alright, Grumps is going to go 1, 2, 3. Alright, and he will be able to gather 2 vinegar. 1 for his light bulb, because he's before it. 1 for that. Alright, he's going to start building some stuff. Over to me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to bring Rat Woman here to this, using all 5 spaces. Gives me 2 lightning. 2 light bulbs, rather. Alright, now, Rat Woman cannot steal from any of the critters, but she can grab something without paying for it, and we're going to grab, we're going to grab the red ones, since there's 2 green ones out there. Alright, and this will allow her to get 1 additional resource every time she lands on an orange space, or red. I'll be switching them two colors up. All right, that's the end of my turn. It goes over to Jen. Okay, so Jen, 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2. So that will give her 3 apples plus another 2 apples for a total of 5 apples, plus 2 more for 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's what she's going to do. She's going to go around passing this, getting one of her rats out of the nursery, and now she can move that rat the next turn. That is the end of Jen's turn. Goes over to Grumps. All right, so Grumps is going to get some cheese. He's going to go 1, 2, and then 1. Now this is at the spot that the light bulb is on, so he will get an additional 1 for that. So that's 3, 4, 5 light bulbs, or cheese rather. So now he gets 3 plus 2 would be 5. Now he has 10, 11 cheese here. He can get on the score by donating cheese to the cause, which is what he will do. He's going to get on the scoreboard. All right. Return all that to the bank. Take one of his score markers here and place it on the leftmost spot on this track here. Grumps is first on the board. That's the end of his turn. Goes over to me. All right. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. With Rat Girl here, and then 1, 2, 3, landing on 2 oranges. I'm going to collect 2 of these guys here, the vinegars. And then I can use this for an additional vinegar. I can only choose one spot to use that backpack on. Can't choose more than one. That's the end of my turn. It goes over to Jen. Now Jen is going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, that's what she's going to do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, this will get her 4 pieces of cheese. All right, that's all Jen's doing. Goes over to Grumps. Yeah, that's what they'll do. 1, 2. Okay, that'll give him 2 light bulbs plus 2 more. Bring them over here. He's going to steal one of these. Bump this guy back here. Back to me. Let's see. I am going to go 1, 2, 3. Can't move this guy along because there's not another blue spot in range. So I get 2 light bulbs. 1, 2. And I will get one of these guys from the frog. I don't have to pay because it's Rat Woman. Goes over to Jen. Alright, so Jen's going to get her first rat into the rastronaut position. So 1, 2, 3. Now this is a wild spot. She can choose any color. And she'll go 1, 2, 3. I think that's what she'll do. She'll choose cheese. Yes, this will get her enough to go over. Now she'll get 1, 2, 3 pieces of cheese. She can donate that to the cause, which we'll get back to in a second. And she will collect either a rat from the nursery or 3 points at the end. She's going to get another one of her rats out of the nursery. And actually, I forgot about this guy. He's going to move 1, 2 for another piece of cheese plus 1 for the bulb. Alright, that is the end of that. Now, this guy will slide up here into the first slot of the rastronaut track. Jen's second on the board. Alright, she has enough cheese here to donate, so 9, 10, and she will place one of her markers here in the next available spot on the track here. That's the end of her turn. Goes over to Grumps. All right, Grumps is going to go 1, 2, 3, and he's going to set himself up for the next turn so he can build a rocket. All right, so he has this green one. All right, so that will give him 2, plus this is 3 of the vinegar. He needs 1 more baking soda, and he can start building his rocket. All right, but he doesn't have it. That's the end of Grump's turn. Goes over to me. Yes, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, and then 1. So I will get a vinegar and a calculator right off the bat. I have this +1 for the orange spaces, so I got to choose which one I'm going to do. I'm going to go with the calculator because they're a little tougher to come by. Alright, that's the end of my turn. It goes over to Jen again. Alright, Jen's going to move her rats into barrow, so 2 and 1. So she gets 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Alright, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's what she's going to do. And she will score for helping out the colony with food. Alright, goes over to Grumps. Let's see, Grumps is going to go 1 here. And then he's going to bring this guy out. 1, 2, 3. And he will gain 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces of cheese. Doesn't have enough to contribute again, but we're going to work on the next turn. Goes back to me. See, Rat Woman's going to go over. She's going to get some end scoring. 1, 2, 3. Oh, I got enough. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I do. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Ending here. 1, 2. Ending there. All right, now I will get a tin can. I'm going to put the backpacks down here and the resources up there. All right. And I will get a baking soda. I can buy from the Crow, but, Rat Woman doesn't have to pay. So, I think I'm going to go with this. 2 points for... I will get 2 points for every cap, backpack, comic book, or energy drink at the end of the game, including the cap that I'm using. That would be 2 points right off the bat. So that is the end of that. Goes over to Jen. Okay, Jen's going to come up here and up here. I really haven't used her to her full extent yet, but she's going to get 3, 4, 5 light movements. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. She has to get 1 more, and then she could score off of the work lights. All right, now is she going to steal or? What's she going to? Yeah, she is. She's going to steal. All right, she's going to steal this, and it's going to knock her back there, and goes over to Grumpy. All right, Grumps is going to come here, and here he's going to give Jen 1 piece of cheese. All right, and now he will get 3, 4, 5 movements in the burrow. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with the other rat here. All right, now. I think he wants to grab this guy here. He will, which will allow him to build stuff with 1 less resource. That's the end of Grumps. Goes back to me. He's going to build something next round. All right, I'm going to go 1. And then 1. Okay, so I will get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 light bulbs. Plus 2 is 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, I could multiply this. I'm going to use my energy drink here. I'm going to flip it over, show how I'm going to use it. I'm going to multiply 8 by 2, giving me 16. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I passed this, so I am first to score up here. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, all the way up here. I'll take it. All right, that's the end of my round. My turn goes over to Jen. All right, Jen is going to go 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and then 1, 2. All right, so she will get 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pieces of cheese, and that is enough for her to trade in. That gives her enough to trade in, leaving her with 1, and she will now score here on the track for the cheese. That is the end of Jen's turn. It goes over to Grumps. All right, like I said, Grumps wants to build something. It doesn't matter either way. All right, so Grumps will go 1, 2, and then 1, 2 on the green ones. So he will get 1, 2 baking soda plus 2 vinegar. And he has this backpack here, which will allow him to do an additional resource on the greens. And he's going to grab an additional vinegar. Now he has enough to build, so he's going to give 2 of the baking soda and 5 vinegar back to the supply. And that will place him here, being first on the track to build the rocket tree. Alright, that's Grump's turn. It goes back to me. I forgot the last build. I could have built. I forgot. Wasn't paying attention. So we'll get some more resources here. See, 3 will bring me here. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Oh, she can't do it. So we'll just get a calculator. Being that I have the orange, it'll be +1 calculator. All right, now I am going to trade in 2 calculators and 1 tin can, and I will be able to place up here on the nose cone section. Goes over to Jen. All right, Jen's gonna go 1 and then 1. So 3, 4, 5 around 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Bringing her here. Goes over to Grumps. All right, you go 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, giving Jen some cheese, which will allow him to move his rat. 1. We got 3, and 3 is 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then he has. That's a light bulb. Ooh, I think I forgot Jen. She moved 2 more. I don't know. I don't remember if I got Jen on that or not. We'll let it go. All right. Come up here, get a comic book. Yeah, you know what? He's going to do that. What did I say? 4, 5, 6, right? Yep. 5, 6. Okay, we're going to come up here. And what do I want? Movement or the tunnel? You know what? I'll take the tunnel. I'll take this red tunnel comic. That's the end of Grump's turn. It goes over to me. I'm going to get some cheese. So 1, 2, 1, 2, and I get 4 for this one, and 3 for that one, for a total of 7. I have 3 here, so I'm going to trade that in and just get 4 quick points. So 7, 8, 9, 10, which will allow me to go here. All right, over to Jen. Jen is going to, that's what she'll do. She'll go 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3. Okay, so she will now get 2 baking soda and 2 vinegar because of where her light bulb is. All right, back to Grumps. Grumps is going to go 1, 2, and then 1. And he's going to steal this. Sending this guy back here. And there's nothing to steal here, so he's not going to do that. But I forgot the resources, so 3. And then 2 is 5. So we move this light bulb up 5 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He passes one of the generators there. He gets to go on the open space on the scoreboard for it. Over to me. So I'll go 1, 2, which will give me 1 tin, and then this one will give me an additional tin, which is 2 tins. All right, goes over to Jen. She does green. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. She could do the additional one with this lady here, and she's gonna go 1, 2 with this guy here. 1, 2, 3 for this guy here. All right, now she will get 2 of the vinegar and 2 baking soda right off the bat, and then 1 tin. She has this guy here, which will allow her to select an additional resource. So what she wanted to do, she has enough. She'll get an additional 10. All right, now she's going to choose to build. She's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these and 2 of these, and that'll allow her to place here in this track here, and then she's going to spend 2 of these and 3 of these, which will allow her to place this spot here. That's the end of Jen's turn. Goes over to Grumps. Alright, Grumps is just going to go 1 space here, so that'll give him 2 light bulbs, plus this is another 2, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Back to me. Alright, let's see what I want to do. I'm going to get my Rastronaut up here, so we're going to move Rat Woman up here, and unfortunately we're going to lose her. Alright, so this is a wild space. We will choose which color we want to if we want to move another rat, which I do. So, let's see. 1, 2, 3. Or 1. You know what? I'll just go 1. To this green spot here, so I can steal. Alright, so now we're going to collect the resources. I can gain 2 of these because I have 1 here in the backpack. So, I'm going to grab 2 baking soda. 1, 2. Like I said, I will steal off of the crow here. What am I going to steal? This has the most points, right? Other than this. This is tricky. You know, depending on how many rockets you build, you can lose more points. This wouldn't make sense. You know what? I'll grab this. All right, we're gonna grab this guy here. Like I said, it'll be 12 points at the end of the game, but I have to subtract 2 points for every part of the rocket that I have completed. Don't know if it's really worth it yet. All right, and this rat goes all the way back here. Now my astronaut rat will go into the second slot up here before I forget. And I can collect either a rat from the nursery or 3 additional points. No, I'm going to bring another rat out. All right, that's the end of my turn. It goes over to Jen. All right, Jen's going to go 1, 2, and then 1, 2, 3. This guy can't make it. All right, so as we can see, it's pointing to this spot. So she gets 4 plus 3 is 7 plus 2 is 9 movement. So see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You know what? That's what she's going to do. She's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. She passed this guy twice. She's going to collect both of these. And that's the end of her turn. It goes over to Grumps. Keep wanting to skip Grumps. All right, so Grumps. All right, Grumps is going to go 1, 2, and his movement here. All right, being that his light bulb's all the way up there, you'll get 2 vinegar. Now that he has 2 vinegar, he can purchase another rocket spot here for 5 points if he wants to. Or if he wants to, he could hold on. Because he has this, it's -1 resource. I think he's going to hold on to that for a second. All right, so that's the end of the Grumps turn. Goes back to me. All right, so I'm going to move both my rats. Get some cheese. So I get 4 pieces of cheese. Not enough to get 4 more points, but it's points in the game. If I have 4, a combination of 4. Goes over to Jen. Let's see, Jen will go 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, which will give her 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 light bulbs. And then, nope, she will move her thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 light bulbs, which will get her on the board up here. All right, now she's going to steal this guy here. I'm going to push Lola all the way back and down here. All right, that's the end of Jen's turn. It goes back to Grumps. All right, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. So that would be 4 and 2 is 6. He doesn't have apples, so 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's what he's going to do. Get him some points. Goes back to me. All right. I need a vinegar. So 1, 2, 3. I will get 2 vinegars. And then I will turn them plus 3 more in, along with 2 baking soda, and I will build my rocket pack for 5 points. Goes over to Jen. All right, Jen is going to move Lola out. 1, 2, 3. Okay, now she has this ability where she could add 2 more, and actually Jen has the additional movement, so she could actually move 3 more with Lola. So she's going to use that and go 1, 2. Landing here, and then we're going to go 1, 2, 3, landing here. And then this guy here, we're going to go 1. All right, so Jen will get 1 calculator, 2 vinegar, 2 baking soda. All right, now she needs some tin, and she can finish up her rocket there. All right, goes over to Grumps. All right, Grumps is going to go 1, 2, and give me a cheese. That's kind of close, giving me some points, but that's what he's going to do. All right, and then this one here is going to go 1 to this spot here. Now he will get 2 tin cans and 2 of the vinegar. He has this guy here, which will allow him to get 1 extra of his choice. He will go with the tin can. And as we can see here, we have enough to build some stuff. So he's going to use this to build the fuselage here, using that for 1 less vinegar or baking soda because he doesn't have it. He's going to change that 2 that he does have in the tins in, and place his marker here. creating the fuselage. Over to me. Alright, now let's see. Jen's only got 2 markers left. I don't think she's gonna get rats up there. So, yeah, 1, 2, 3. I'll just have to pay Jen some cheese. Alright, Jen, get some cheese. 1, 2, 3. Can't make it there. Alright. Now I get 2 baking soda. 1, 2. That is enough for me to buy a fuselage of 1, 2, 3 baking soda and 2 tin cans, which will allow me to place my marker here in the 7th spot. And it'll allow me to finish the first rocket, getting 5 points. Alright, pretty eventful turn. It goes over to Jen. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and 1. So she gets 3, 6, 7 apples, 8, 9, 10 apples, and then 2 more is 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. This is where she'll end, but she will go here to score it once. Back to Grumps. Alright, let's see what Grumps going to do. Alright, what Grumps is going to do, he's going to bump up his light bulb here. 1, 2, and 1. So that will give him 6 for the light bulbs. Plus 2 is 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Since we are on a Jenny, we will place a cube up there. Yeah, I'll use it. Alright, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Couple more. He gets 4 more points off the bat. Alright. Goes over to me. Jen is good. I need cheese. I could get 4 points right off the bat. It's not enough to trigger the game. Jen is probably going to trigger the end of the game this round. She's got 1 more score out there. Unless she tries to push some more of these rats up there quicker. Alright, Jen has his +1 movement. So she's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 using that +1. And then she's going to go 1 here. And then with this rat here, she's going to go 1, 2. Alright, now she gains 2 of these guys, 2 tins, and 1 calculator. She has this guy here, which will give her an additional green. So, what does she want? Does she want the tin? She's going to use this here to finish off her rocket, which will trigger the end of the game. She's going to grab 1 more tin. That's what she's going to do. Alright, so now she's going to buy. She's going to spend these 2 here. 2 computers and the 1 tin, which will allow her to finish the cap here. Okay. This also allows her to go here because she finished her rocket. Now, Jen used her 8th and 9th score marker. This triggers the end of the game. Now, everybody else will finish out the round. And then everybody will play 1 more turn, and then we'll add up our score. But she's going to buy some more stuff here. So she has 2 tin and 3 baking soda, which will give her 5 more points, and that is her last marker. She cannot score anymore with the markers. All right. So, like I said, we're going to finish out the round and do 1 more round, and that'll be the end of the game. It goes over to Grumps. Okay, so he's going to go 1, 2, 3 for the computer. And then might as well get some baking soda while he's here. Alright, so he gets 2 computers and 2 baking soda. And he will finish his fuselage spending 2 of the computers and the 1 tin. Or not his fuselage, he will finish his end piece here, giving him 5 points. And that will complete his rocket, which will give him an additional 4 points. You see... He's got enough. Yeah, he might as well go for another 4 points here for the rocket. So that's 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. You know what? I'm going to keep 1 of these using this, which will be 1 less resource. Alright. Because again, these in combination with other resources are worth points at the end of the game. Goes back to me. Alright, looks like this is the best bet for him. Alright, he's going to go here. He's going to get 3 cheese, which will give him enough to cash in and come up here. Fortunately, that's about the only thing I could think of to do there. Can't really build with anything. Yeah, nothing you could reach. All right, so that is my final turn. Goes over to Jen for her final turn. Let's see. Jen is going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Definitely going to get this guy up here. All right, Jen's going to go 1, 2, and then 1. She doesn't have any point markers to put out. That's why I kept going back and forth on this. So she's just going to collect resources, which will give her points at the end of the game. So she will get 2 tin cans and 2 baking sodas. And she has this green guy here, which will allow her to collect 1 additional. So let's see. Doesn't really matter which one she'll take this. She just needs a set of 4. So she has 3 points here at the end of the game. That's Jen's last turn. The last turn of the game goes to Grumps. Let's see what Grumps going to do. He has 1 score token left. All right, Grumps for his last move is going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and stop here, which will give him 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And he will place his last marker here on the 6th space. I was debating on whether to steal or not, but, you know, it's the highest points is 6, so he gets 6 automatically. All right, that is the end of the game. I was the first player. All right, now we are going to add up our score. This guy should have been slid up here in the 3 slot. All right, so let's write down what we have here. We have me, we have a Jen, and then we have a Grumps. That should be a J, not a 5. Again, I'm medicated. I made another 5. All right, that should be a J. All right, so now, anybody who completed a rocket will get points for it. So I have 5. Jen has 4. Grumps has a 4. Now, the caps. I get 6, Jen gets 6, Grumps gets 5. 6, 6, 5. Fuselage. Grumps gets 14. Or Jen gets 14, rather. Grumps gets 8. And I get 7. The rocket. Grumps gets 12. Jen gets 7. And I get 5. We go to the cheese here. Grumps gets 9. Jen gets 12. And I get 8. Next, we go to our astronauts. So Jen will get 7 and 3 is 13. I will get 6. Grumps gets 0. Alright, we come up here to the work lights. I get 10. Jen gets 7. Grumps gets 8. And 6 is 14 and 6 is 20. Come down to feeding our troops. Oops, I knocked Grumps off there at 1 point. So Grumps will get 7. Jen will get 12. I get none. Jen gets 12. All right. Bottle caps. Okay, so this is 12 points minus 6. All right, so that is 6 points for that. And then this guy here gives me 2 points for the backpacks, the energy drinks, the comic books, or the caps themselves. So I get 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 points for that, plus 6 is 18. Do they have caps? No, no one else has caps. All right, so if we have any moldy cheese, we would get negative 2 points for each of them that we have. None of us has that. We don't have to worry about that. Jen has 3 points for the bonuses. Now, we get 1 point for every 4 resources we have. Okay, so for every combination of tin cans, baking soda, calculators, cheese, and vinegar, we get 1 point for every 4 of them. So we'll do me first. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 resources. I get 1 point. Jen gets 1, 2, 3. Grumps gets 1, because again, this is considered 3, so he has 5 resources. He gets 1 point. Okay, now we add this up. 66 for Grumps. Jen whooped our butts. Alright, so Jen had 81. Grumps and I have 66. If there were a tie for first player, whoever has the most rats up there would win the game. If there was still a tie, you would simply share the tie or do another tiebreaker. It's, another game for a tiebreaker. It's your choice. Alright, and that is it. That is how you play Feist Rat. I don't know where the Stooges come from. I'm a little high right now. Rating out, I'm in pain, but stay tuned for what me thinks of the game in a few seconds. Alright, gang, so that was First Rat. Sorry, I like this theme. It's whimsical, so I thought the Three Stooges right away. Rat Race tried to get to the cheese spoon. Alright, so I have not played this solo or at 5 players. I have played it 2, 3, and 4 players. And how many times have I played it? I played it, let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, and then the 5-player game would be 10. I can't believe I played it that much. All right, so what I found is at 2 players, there's not enough tension. There's not as much tension as with 3 or more players. I haven't played the solo game, so I'm not going to comment on that. 2 players, there's not a lot of tension, and that's mostly how I played it at 2 players. Most of the games I have played, the point swing has been pretty close. This one, there was, somebody ran ahead. That Neil Ratstrong one, he can be pretty powerful. Neil Ratstrong here, he can be pretty powerful, especially in a 2-player game. If you're on the other board, I think it's 10. At the Rastronaut track there, that's the highest score. So that's 20 points right off the bat. And then I think it was 10-8 or 10-9-8. I can't remember. But you're doubling the slot that you're in that position if you have Neil here, the first rat on the moon. First man on our moon, Neil Armstrong. But that could be a little powerful in a 2-player game. I've noticed most of them are tight, even with Neil. There was a couple times. It just depends on the person you're playing with. I do like that this is all open information. There is very little randomness unless you set up. There's only randomness in the setup, whether you use the alternate setup or, depending on what the caps and the backpacks and all that are out. And the comics. I do like that there are multiple ways to gain points. Points out, so to speak. Jen also likes that. She has to play it a few more times, but she did mention that, the movement and the light bulbs. Okay, I do like all of them. I do like that the numbers on the score tracks are pretty tight. You can only score one slot until you get to the end, and then multiple people can. I can understand that. I like that the light bulbs will give you an additional resource for every tile that your rat lands on. And the movement is pretty interesting, where you can move 1 to 5 or 1 to 3, depending on how many rats you can use. And there's, modifiers for that. I like the combination of the modifiers. They work out pretty cool. The end game caps, I got the most powerful ones, I think. In the game, that one with the where is it? That one with the negative points. This guy here. If you're not going to be building rockets, go for it. It's 12 points right off the bat, and then -2 for every component of the rocket you built. I do like that there's multiple ways to end the game. Either get all 4 rats up there, or get your 8th marker out. That triggers the end of the game. I have not decided which strategy I like more, whether to straight up run out and try to get all 4 of my rats to become ratstronauts. I keep wanting to call them ratineers, or rastronauts. Or do I take it slow and steady and build up the score track, or somewhere in between? Just get a couple rats up there, build up the score track with the other rats. I did not show how the shortcut works, but I do like that, if you spend resources, you can move through these shortcuts, except for this guy. There's also modifiers where you don't have to pay a resource, through some of these comic books. That's cool. The light, it's another cool way to, gain some points. Another, way to gain points in the game, along with, collecting resources and building rockets, stuff like that. Also feeding your rats. Speaking of which, I do like this. I like how it loops around and you can gain multiple resources or benefits on a spot if you pass it several times. And you have an option, going to the nursery, the library, or feeding the troops here. I do like that. That's a cool another way of getting some benefits and some scoring at the end of the game. Let's see what else. We'll get into components in a minute. The backpacks. In a 2-player game, I found the backpacks and the cheese aren't really critical. Especially the cheese. The backpacks, you're most likely going to get one of each in a 2-player game. And more players, it's a little more tight. There's more of these out, more people to grab them. There's not a whole lot of player interaction in the game other than, grabbing something that another player wants or blocking a space of them. Speaking of the player interaction, I do like that you have to give up some cheese if you land on a spot with another rat. So there is a little player action, not a whole lot, and it's enough to, to keep some tension, some intrigue in the game. All right, now for the components. These guys are the worst part of the components, I think. It's a little confusing at first glance. Once you get a game under you can figure it out. This part here, as it's written, is kind of confusing. I understand that it is. You can buy at the junkyard critters and pay them the cheese. This one got a little confusing for me. Once I read what it does, you can understand it. This guy in here, again, once you read it, play it, you get it. No big deal. The rulebook was pretty good. Wasn't great. It was pretty good. I do like that they give you a reference sheet here for all the things you can buy from the critters and what the comic book strips do. And they also show you on the back what to do with the super rats. Slide them in the tail, which I do like. Part of the components. That's a pretty fun little thing. On the back of the player aid or the rules book is the scoring for solo play. I have never even looked at the solo play. Don't know anything about it, but I'm assuming, you got to beat this to do it, and them cards are involved somehow. All right, there's other places to look for that if you want to. The components themselves, like I said, I think it's whimsical. I like the theme of it, how the super rats fit in the tail of the regular rats, although they kind of look like chipmunks to me. Or squirrels. That's what they actually look like, squirrels, which I can relate to. What was I saying? Anyway, I do like the components. I do like the separate tracks that you can use to gain points and gain different benefits. I like the game. Jen needs to play a little bit more before she decides. I think she will like the game. Seems like it's up her alley. There's a little bit of meanness, not a whole lot. She likes a little more meaner games. That's how she gets even with me. But we both like it. All the games I played, like I said, have been pretty tight for the most part. I do like, the variable setup on it, the open information. There's no randomness other than the setup. I like that there is some player interaction. This isn't a straight solo game where you're racing. I'm still trying to figure out the strategies. I like that there's multiple strategies you can take to win the game. And I think that would be all I have to say about that. Yeah, this is a game I wanted to play for a while. I first seen it on game night. They had a 4-player game. I think it was Nikki, Lincoln, Deborah, and Dave, if I remember. I can't remember. It was either 4 or 5 players. I can't remember. And then I couldn't get it over here. It wasn't available. I think this was released last year or the year before. I can't remember. Then it came out in the US, and I forgot all about it. I actually wanted to play it down at BGG Spring and forgot all about it. I ended up playing it at a game night when I came back, and I liked it. Got it online, and here it is. Now, with the time, I think I said 30 to 75 minutes. I don't know, maybe a solo player, you could get 30 minutes in. 2 players now. It's more to 45, I think. 75, I don't know, with a 5-player game. I can't see this going that long. With a 4-player game, I only played one of them, and I think it was about an hour and a half with the rules. I'm going to say about hour 15 minutes playing. Probably about closer to an hour. The 2-player game, like I said, usually 45 minutes. With Jen, the game was about an hour and 15 with the rules explanation. This game here, I think, ended up being about an hour 20 with 3 people, but I was talking a lot of retake stuff that you won't see in the edit. So it's close, but like all these board games, they lie. They lie about the time. They never include setup and all that. Or if they do, these are people who play this thing 1,000 times. They're bored with it. They know exactly where to move and what to do. All right, but it's close. The age thing, I don't know. I haven't played with kids. It says 10 years. I think probably. Depending on the 10-year-old, I wouldn't say this is a gateway game. Maybe the next step up. It's not Ticket to Ride, but maybe it would be like not Takano. It would be like an Alhambra maybe, or Powerline. Powerline. There you go. It's just a little more complicated rules than I think a new gamer would grasp, but they play a game. With somebody teaching them, I think they could pick it up. And, gamers that have been in here for a while, they could get this, as long as they understand the concepts. It's not that difficult to play. But being that there is a lot of strategy, and every move you make, you're thinking. It's not like, oh, I'm just going to come here and collect resources. Like, all right, if I do this, they're going to do that. I have to get this point, many things for this. I got to move this track, that track. You're always thinking. I do like that. Keeps my stoner brain going, focused. All right. That's it. That's all I'm going to say about Feist Rat. If this is something you would like to check out, go online. There's more information on BGG, as well as the publisher, which was Spiel. Oh, I forgot about the designer. I played one of the designer's games, Hotel Austria. I do enjoy that. I can't remember. I think it was Gabriel. Yeah, Gabriel. The other player I never heard of. The other designer I never heard of. But I know the one who did Hotel Austria. They did a couple other games. I played one other. I just can't remember offhand other than Austria. I did enjoy that after they fixed that last player loop thing. But so it comes from a pretty good stock of gaming. If it is something you want to check out, like I was saying, you can check it out on the BGG website or on Spiel. I can't remember. Oh, at the publisher's website. Other places online, there's videos for it. That's it. Get gaming, have fun. See you next time. Get me out for the Feist Rat.